Hey everybody, it's Mike from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Here with a weekly check-in from here. Above, that's the logo for my newsletter. Hey Pablo, thanks for joining. Um, so I write a weekly newsletter creatively called Vietnam Weekly on Substack. So if you usually Google Vietnam Weekly or go to vietnamweekly.substack.com, you can subscribe for free. Send it out every Friday morning, Vietnam time, with some stuff that I talk about on here, and the big stories from the week, and also some more local things, because I like to every week I try to get something that hasn't quite been picked up internationally. Um, so as we get going, though, if you have any questions about anything in Vietnam or how things are going here, feel free to ask. But the big news that just got published by Reuters as I was about to go online is that the government here is potentially threatening to ban Facebook or shut down Facebook, whichever phrase you want to use, because the company, I'm reading from Reuters, but the company is not doing enough to respond to requests from the government to take down content that they deem sensitive or anti-government. So again, this was just published about 20 minutes ago, again by Reuters out of Vietnam, and would be a massive deal. So a few years ago, I think it was about 10 years ago now, Facebook or Vietnam did kind of do a loose ban of Facebook, but it was always pretty easy to get around. And since then, it's been pretty wide open. We have the same access to it that you would in the US. But the government has been putting increasing pressure on it to delete accounts by activists, anti-government activists, remove content that it considers anti-state. And Facebook has complied with a lot of that, and it's come under a lot of criticism from activists and human rights groups, both here in Vietnam and abroad. But according to this report, they're not doing enough. So there's a quote from a anonymous Facebook official that says they made an agreement with the government in April to restrict more content, and they expected that to kind of be the end of it. But now the government has come and told them to restrict even more, and Facebook has apparently said no. And now there's some sort of threat to potentially shut it down in here. And I can't really overstate how massive that would be. So Vietnam has at least 60 million users in Facebook has at least 60 million users here in Vietnam out of a population of about 96 million. Essentially everybody of adult age is on it, or almost everybody. It is the internet for a lot of people. It's where people get their news. It's where people shop. E-commerce is huge on it. You can order food from restaurants on it. A lot of shops will only have a Facebook page and that's it, and no brick and mortar location. And this is this has been a topic of discussion for a long time. We know that the government is not happy with the freedom of speech that Facebook, grants users, that you can just post whatever you want, and there's not really, any constraints on it. So this would be pretty massive if that comes to pass. Again, I'll just do a quick reset because I think we have some new people coming on. So I'm Mike Tatarski, a journalist based in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. Just talking about some of the big news from here this week. If anyone's got any questions about how things are going here, what's going on in Vietnam, feel free to leave a comment. If you're watching on Reddit or something like that, check this out on haps.tv. That's where the stream's coming from. You can also, again, leave comments, or there's awards that you can give if you think this is useful or something like that. Oh yeah, good question from Pablo. So what would a ban, if that happens, mean for other Facebook run apps? That's unclear. Instagram is also massive here, as it is in many other countries. WhatsApp is fairly widely used. There's a domestic messaging app called Zalo that's pretty popular as well. So the loss of WhatsApp wouldn't be massive for a lot of people. Instagram is very popular. Not quite the same in terms of being able to freely post, text and all that sort of thing. So that's unclear, but it's a good question, and it would definitely be a concern. So this is kind of just developing. And Facebook, again, I know it's big in the US, or I don't know where everybody's watching from. Of course, it's popular in many places, but it's really, really big here in Vietnam and a lot of other developing countries that kind of jump straight from not having a lot of internet access basically into the social media age. You know, Facebook is for a lot of people, I think, more or less their first experience with the internet, for better or worse. And that's what people rely on for, you know, news, keeping in touch with, just posting their, you know, what they're doing on their daily in their daily life, that all that sort of stuff. And given how easy it is to post opinions, it's also become very popular with activists here and you know, people who don't approve of government policies. Hey, Lucia, thanks for watching. Um, yeah, so again, I'm just talking about Vietnam. A report from Reuters that just got published saying that the Vietnamese government has apparently threatened to ban or shut down Facebook, whatever that means, because the government is alleging that Facebook is not restricting enough content that it considers sensitive. This has become a really big topic over the last couple of years. So in 2019, Vietnam passed a Cybersecurity Act that, in theory, would force foreign tech companies like Facebook or Google to set up servers and offices here in Vietnam. They haven't done that. I mean, they don't want to do that. Google and Facebook's Vietnam operations are run out of Singapore, and they don't want to have servers here because that would definitely give the government more control over what's going through their websites. So it's turned into this battle between the Vietnamese government, which is concerned about content on Facebook and YouTube in particular, and these huge multinational companies that don't always align with Vietnamese government's viewpoints. So this is really interesting. And I mean, nobody knows if this will actually happen, but it would be a massive step and people would be extremely upset and furious if that were to happen. I mean, it would be pretty devastating for a lot of businesses that rely on Facebook for traffic and money and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so if anyone has any questions about, you know, Facebook in Vietnam or what could happen with this, do share in the comments. Again, I'm Mike Tatarsky, a journalist in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, talking about the big news here from the week. And certainly, you know, threatening to shut down Facebook has suddenly become the top story, I think. But in other news, this has been a really rough couple months for Vietnam in terms of typhoons and bad weather, especially central Vietnam. So I'll share some photos here that a friend of mine took up in central Vietnam last month. So these areas don't still look like this, but this gives you an idea of what people up there were dealing with. So this was from a series of like 6 typhoons, I think actually 7 tropical storms or typhoons that hit in a matter of about 5 or 6 weeks, all in the same 4 or 5 provinces. I've talked about this before on here if you've joined me for previous streams. Thankfully, there aren't any more storms on the horizon, but a lot of people have lost their homes, lost a lot of property, lost their livestock. So these areas certainly are still in rebuilding mode. Yeah, my friend got some really good photos. A couple more I can bring up. Oh, Lucia mentioned about Instagram. Yeah, Instagram business accounts would be affected. Yeah, I mean, that's also, again, this is back to Facebook. But if Facebook were to be shut down and Instagram as well, a lot of places definitely do business on Instagram here also. So this will be something to definitely monitor. And then Pablo asked, did the government provide help for those affected by the flooding? They did, yeah. The 5 most affected provinces, the central government, I think, donated a few thousand tons of rice. There's actually a national rice reserve, which I guess is a little similar to the oil reserve in the US. So they shipped a lot of rice to these provinces, and then also several $100,000 for each province, and also did a lot of on the ground work, you know, evacuating people out of at-risk areas. And, you know, local officials going around checking on people and distributing goods and that sort of thing. Digital Silhouette asks, what's this? I'm not sure what you're referring to. But I think there's some more people coming on, so I'll do another quick reset. I'm Mike Tatarsky, journalist in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. This is on HAPS, a broadcast platform. If you're coming in from Reddit or something like that, this is coming from haps.tv. It lets journalists and people around the world stream independently. So these are some photos cycling through flooding that's been going on in central Vietnam over the last few weeks from a series of tropical storms and typhoons and just incredibly heavy rain, likely caused by climate change. There were some areas that got, I think, 2 or 3, was it? No, I think it might have been more like about 10 feet of rain in a matter of weeks, which Vietnam is a country that gets a lot of rain, but that is pretty incredible amounts in a short time span. And these are the results you can see in some of these photos. I mean, millions of people were impacted by flooding. But thankfully, these are generally resilient areas. So they're, houses are often made of concrete. It's not like in the States or something where there's a lot of, plaster or wood. But still, I mean, a huge tragedy, and thankfully there's no more storms forecast at the moment, which is good. And also was leading, if anyone is just coming on, with a Reuters report that just got published saying that the Vietnamese government is threatening to shut down Facebook because the social media platform isn't restricting enough content that the government deems sensitive. It's too early to know where exactly this will go, but this is a pretty big escalation in terms of the ongoing kind of conversation, let's call it, between Facebook and the Vietnamese government. The government here does not like how easy it is for people to air their opinions on Facebook. They can be critical of, government officials or policies, which is not allowed in the state press here. And over 60 million people out of about 96 million people in Vietnam use Facebook. It's by far the most popular social media platform. Businesses use it, everyday people use it, as well as Instagram, which Facebook also owns. So I would think if this were to happen, people would be pretty furious. I mean, it's public demonstrations of any kind are extremely rare here. They're actually illegal, but this would certainly, I would think, make people upset to the point of maybe, marching or something like that. But yeah, if anyone has any questions about how things are going here in Vietnam, feel free to ask. Coronavirus situation here, which remains excellent. We're about 3 months now, I think over 3 months, without any detected community transmission of the virus. There's no social distancing regulations. All businesses are open. You can go see a movie. You can go to a bar or a restaurant. They're busy. The only new cases are people coming into the country from elsewhere, but they're quarantined for 14 days on arrival. So there's no risk to the community. Honestly, reading the news from places like the US, it's kind of, it's almost like we're living in an alternate reality here in Vietnam. We can go outside without having to worry about getting sick. And meanwhile, talking to my friends and family in the US, that is not the case, and I feel sorry for them. There's been a lot of vaccine news in the US, which is really heartening, and Vietnam is developing a few vaccines of its own, but they're definitely not as much of a rush as the US is, because things are so stable here in terms of there not being, widespread infections or deaths or anything like that. So I'm thankful to be in Vietnam during this. It's been a really safe place to be. And yeah, I think I'll do just one more reset. So I'm Mike Tatarsky, streaming on HAPS from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. I'm a journalist here. If anyone has any questions about what's going on, I've got a few people here saying countries should ban Facebook. I mean, it of course is. It's a hugely problematic social media platform. So can't argue with that. It is tricky. I mean, somebody said there should be alternatives. So Vietnam has tried to develop alternatives, but Facebook is already so popular. It's really hard to get people to move away from it, even if it is, damaging, as I think most people can agree on at this point. Certainly can be good for businesses that are on it, but it's also obviously used for people's social lives and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so I was at the top of this broadcast, I was talking about how Reuters has reported that the Vietnamese government is threatening to ban Facebook or shut down Facebook. I don't know if there's a difference, because the Facebook allegedly isn't restricting as much sensitive content as they would like. So in the past year, Facebook has taken to removing more activist accounts and deleting posts that are considered anti-government when asked to by Vietnam. But apparently it's still not enough. And Facebook, according to this article, is trying to push back. So it's unclear where this is going to go, but certainly a story to keep an eye on. Also wanted to share that I write a weekly newsletter called the Vietnam Weekly, or just Vietnam Weekly on Substack. If you want to get more about Vietnam every week, it's free. If you just Google Vietnam Weekly or go to vietnamweekly.substack.com, you can subscribe for free. It goes out every Friday morning, Vietnam time. Somebody asked, how's the weather? Here in Ho Chi Minh City, it's hot, like almost always. We don't really have temperature seasons beyond that. Up north, it's certainly colder, but here it's hot, and the rainy season appears to finally be ending. M Tattoo asks, how do the Vietnamese people react about the Facebook ban? Will they freak out? So there's not an actual ban yet. It's just a potential threat that they're putting. So people would definitely freak out. Again, Facebook is hugely popular here. It's used for basically everything in daily life. So this story just came out, and again, it's not saying there definitely will be a ban. We don't know what the next step will be. But if it were to come to that, people would most certainly freak out. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, somebody said they might move here for no Facebook, no coronavirus, and similar weather to California. I mean, yeah, the no coronavirus part is great. I definitely have very mixed feelings about Facebook, but I would feel for a lot of people if they were to ban it, because it is useful for a lot of businesses and people that have built up careers, frankly, on Facebook. But certainly a topic of worthy of discussion. Yeah, I'm gonna log off in a minute, but if anyone has any other questions about Facebook in Vietnam, coronavirus here, anything else about daily life in Vietnam, feel free to share. And also, if you're watching this on Reddit or another platform, this is coming from haps.tv. Check it out, and you can subscribe to me on there to get informed when I do further streams. Somebody asked, who do I work for? So I work for a website here called Saganir. It's like a Vietnamese arts and culture website, and I also do a lot of freelancing for international publications. No Sympathy for Police asks, what's my favorite Vietnamese soup? That is a tough one. There's so many good ones. I think I'd probably have to say Bun Bo Hue if it came down to it, but that's such a hard choice. Yeah, someone said they hate how some apps force you to use Facebook to log in. Yeah, I agree. But so can understand the ban, but also prefer free speech. I mean, yeah, that's the problem. If you shut Facebook down, you get rid of a lot of annoyances, but then that takes out an outlet that Vietnamese people have to, share their thoughts and opinions that they're not always able to elsewhere. And also, just to note, Twitter is not really used here. It's very I don't know why it's never caught on, but that's not like an alternative platform that a lot of people have here. And Sammy G asks if I'm in Vietnam. Yeah, I'm in Ho Chi Minh City, in Vietnam. Yeah, somebody said Twitter. I was just mentioning, but Twitter is not widely used at all here. I don't know what their user numbers are for Vietnam, but it's pretty uncommon to come across a Vietnamese person who uses Twitter. Facebook is definitely the king by a long shot, and Instagram as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna get going. I think it's yeah, there could be a shift potentially. The thing that the government's trying to get people to shift to domestic social media networks, which there is one called Zalo that's fairly popular, but not like Facebook. They've tried to create a few more, and they've all just completely failed, basically. Um, so we'll see what happens if it does come to that. It'll definitely be something I'll be keeping a close eye on for sure. Um, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Again, the picture at the bottom, Vietnam Weekly. That's my weekly newsletter about all things Vietnam. Goes out every Friday morning, Vietnam time. You can just Google the name or go to vietnamweekly.substack.com. It's free. Um, yeah, thanks. Sorry, your name has a lot of capital letters, but take it easy as well. You stay safe. Sammy, I've been here about a decade. I see you're coming from Twitter. So again, everybody, this is streaming from haps.tv. Check it out when you get a chance, and I'll see everybody next time. Thanks for watching.
Great job, man. You do really well with the